I'm Klay Thompson.
I'm Stephen Curry.
And we're the Splash Brothers.
13 seasons, 6,228 made three-pointers, 15 All-Star appearances, and 4 NBA championships. But now, it's all over. The best backcourt in NBA history won't play together anymore after setting numerous NBA records that will be almost impossible to beat. This is the story of the Splash Brothers, how good they were actually, and how they changed basketball forever. And the story of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson started almost identically. Steph's father, Dell, played in the NBA for 16 years, while Klay's dad, Michael, had a 13-year career and won 2 championships. Steph's mother, Sonia, was a standout volleyball player at Virginia Tech, just like Klay's mom, Julie, who played volleyball at the University of Portland. Their brothers, Seth Curry and Michael Thompson, also played in the NBA.
Having my dad play in the league and watching him do what he did, it just made me want to work harder. When I was 13, I decided I was just going to play only basketball. I got rid of the other sports. Me and my brother would go up to at the Air Canada Center, we'd go up to the practice facility, and we'd shoot for the first half. And then we go watch the second half.
And despite being born into athletic families with early access to the NBA, neither Steph nor Klay was highly recruited in high school. Curry was a 3-star recruit and didn't receive offers from major universities, eventually landing at a mid-major basketball program at Davidson College. On the other hand, Klay was a 4-star recruit and had some decent offers, but nobody guaranteed him a starting spot. So, just like Steph, he chose to go to a lesser-known basketball program, joining Washington State. They both spent 3 years in college, and they both left college as their respective schools' all-time leaders in free throw percentage and made three-pointers, as well as single-season leaders in points. The Golden State Warriors drafted Curry 7th overall in 2009, while Klay got drafted 2 years later as the 11th overall pick. And despite their shooting pedigree, nobody could predict what was to come after their first season, especially because Steph and Klay played in just 26 games and didn't start together in any of them. And to top things off, they barely spoke to each other.
I don't think me and Steph said a word to each other the first year, to be honest. Steph only played like 20 games that year. I was riding the bench first 30 games of the year. I'll get in. I was like a shooter off the bench.
But those 26 games were supposed to be the only games that Curry and Thompson played as teammates, and the Splash Brothers could have never become a thing. See, during the 2012 trade deadline, the Warriors had already agreed to trade Steph to Milwaukee. The deal had already gone through, but at the last second, the Bucks doctors informed the team of Curry's ankle problems, believing that he'd have permanent issues. So the Bucks gave up on Curry and ended up taking Monte Ellis instead. Ellis was a fan favorite in Golden State, and the Warriors fans were pissed that the Dubs traded him and not Steph. However, in their first season as a full-time starting backcourt, Curry and Thompson quickly shut down all the critics. In 2012-13, Steph and Klay combined to make 483 three-pointers, which was the most ever by a pair of teammates. Also, Curry set an NBA record with 272 three-pointers in a season, while Thompson added 211, at the time the 22nd best mark in league history. During the season, the Warriors coach Mark Jackson dubbed them
the greatest shooting backcourt that's ever played this game,
which was greeted with a great deal of skepticism, since they hadn't even played a full season together.
The way they practiced, the way they prepared, how serious they took their gift, it was an easy call for me. And to close that statement, after I made the statement, I said it ain't even close. If you don't believe me, call my bluff.
Around that same time, the writer for the Warriors website, Brian Witt, started calling Klay and Steph the Splash Brothers, as a wordplay from baseball players Jose Canseco and Mark McGwire, who were known as the Bash Brothers when they played for the Oakland A's. Soon enough, as the threes continued splashing through the NBA nets, the nickname spread, and the legend of the Splash Brothers was born.
Everything had been building in terms of, understanding who we were, what we needed to tweak a little bit to take that next step.
But even more importantly than breaking the three-point record and getting a cool nickname, Steph and Klay pushed the Warriors to the 6th seed in the West, which was the best result for the franchise since 1994. In the first round, Golden State defeated the Nuggets, which was only the second series the Warriors had won since 1991 and the Run TMC era. But in the second round, despite a formidable effort, the Dubs fell to the Spurs 4-2. And then in the 2013-14 season, Steph and Klay continued to improve and shatter three-point records. Curry and Thompson became the first teammates to finish first and second in made three-pointers, breaking their record from the previous season by 1-3. However, despite great expectations, Golden State lost their first-round playoff series to the Clippers in Game 7. after which coach Mark Jackson got fired and was replaced by rookie head coach Steve Kerr.
My whole point was, like, if you fire Coach Jackson, you just got to get the next hire right, because we're in a position now where we can take that next hire, but you can't mess it up.
During the offseason, the Splash Brothers teamed up for the 2014 World Cup, where they won gold for Team USA. Steph and Klay combined to make more three-pointers than any other duo in the tournament, accounting for 43 of Team USA's 77 threes.
We really didn't get to know each other till about our third year in the league. Our relationship really didn't build till our third year when we played that Team USA, and we finally hung out off the court because we had nothing else to do, so we went and played golf. But that summer of 2014 kind of glued us together, and we just became good friends after that.
But before the 2014-15 season started, the Splash Brothers were nearly separated once again. The Warriors seriously considered trading Thompson for all-star power forward Kevin Love. And if it wasn't for Jerry West, who threatened to leave the team immediately if the Warriors traded Klay, the Dubs would have made the huge mistake.
The people inside know that the trade for Klay and Kevin Love was, I don't want to say imminent, but it was a very real conversation. Look, the amount of threes that Kevin Love shoots is very similar to Klay, and now we have a big that can shoot, and we have and they like begged him to do not trade Klay, do not.
But because of Jerry's ultimatum and influence with the franchise, Thompson stayed, and the Splash Brothers were saved once again, quickly proving that Jerry West was one of the smartest people in basketball. Because when the season started, Golden State had the best team in the NBA.
You don't see him going in there dunking balls, jumping all over the place. He just plays the game. I mean, he's tremendous. He's going to get better too, by the way.
The Warriors finished Kerr's first season with a league-best 67-15 record, and by far the best result in franchise history. They led the NBA in pace, assists, three-point percentage, field goal percentage, and defensive rating, and were second in offensive rating, blocks, and threes made. Curry broke his own record for three-pointers made with 286, and Thompson again finished second with 239. Their combined 525 threes surpassed their previous record by 41, and they converted 44% of their threes, an unheard of efficiency for such a high volume.
Bombing away from three like we do kind of flipped the basketball world upside down, and I think we're seeing that at all levels of basketball now, which a lot of people say it's ruined the game, but I think it's kind of just been an innovative aspect of the game, to be honest.
This season was the breakout year for the Splash Brothers, marked by many great performances by both players, but none greater than Thompson's game against the Sacramento Kings on January 23, 2015. Klay scored an insane 37 points in the third quarter, going 13 for 13 from the field, including 9 for 9 on three-pointers. Those 9 threes in a quarter were an NBA record that still stands, just like his 37-point total for one quarter. I think that 37-point quarter is still the greatest basketball experience I've ever had in my life. It was like he was in a trance, and we were all there just in the trance together with him. That was an out-of-body experience for everybody who was in the building that night. Steve Kerr. Klay finished with 52 that night, and he and Steph Curry became just the 7th pair of teammates to score 50 in the same season, and the first since 1995. Steph won the 2015 MVP award, and the Splash Brothers were both named to All-NBA teams. It was the first time Warriors teammates were named All-NBA in the same season since Chris Mullin and Tim Hardaway in 1992, and they were the first backcourt teammates to make All-NBA since 1980.
And then the one time in Golden State where you went in between the whole team at the free throw, came out and turnaround shot, and then when Kerr was like, and he made it, it was probably one of the most unbelievable shots being a basketball mind. I was like, these got next, and it's gonna be next for a minute.
Steph and Klay's constant movement in Kerr's motion offense was something we've never seen before from backcourt players, and their pace and shot-making ability often left defenders dumbfounded, as they simply weren't used to running after two guys for an entire offensive possession. On top of offensive firepower, Klay established himself as a top-notch perimeter defender, able to slide his feet and contest shots with his big frame and 6'9" wingspan. However, despite Golden State being a complete team offensively and defensively, with the 7th best net rating in NBA history, many people doubted that they could win the title.
Jumpers, I always said jumpers are like pretty girls. They're really good looking when they going in, but then when you realize that pretty girl is dumb, you're in for a long date.
And after they won their first-round series, the Warriors fell behind 2-1 against the Grizzlies, and it seemed like their fairy tale season would end soon. But then Coach Kerr made an adjustment by closing out the paint and completely ignoring Tony Allen at the three-point line, which made all the difference. As Allen kept missing, the Warriors once again proved the power of the three-pointer and advanced to the conference finals, where they defeated the Rockets 4-1. The Dubs made their first finals since Rick Barry led them to the title in 1975. But still, very few people believed that they could match up with LeBron and the Cavs. But after injuries to Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving, LeBron lacked the firepower to outmuscle the Warriors by himself. After Kerr smartly inserted Andre Iguodala in the starting lineup, it changed the series, and Golden State won the finals in 6 games, with Iguodala as the finals MVP.
It's just a whole nother level of freedom after that. Like, you got one.
Yeah.
Like, we can get greedy now.
Curry didn't receive any votes for the finals MVP, as all the votes went to Iguodala and LeBron. And that's kind of a shame, because Steph was the engine of the Warriors, whose shooting and movement created so much space and wreaked havoc on opposing defenses. Not to mention that he also averaged 26 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists, compared to Iggy's 16, 6, and 4. But even after such a dominant season, the Warriors still had doubters. Many believed their season was a fluke and didn't get the memo that pace and space basketball was the future. So the Warriors just kept chucking threes and running circles around everybody. In 2016, the average team attempted 24 threes per game, while the Warriors led the NBA with 32 three-point attempts. The average pace was 95, while the Warriors had a pace of 99. Which meant that in a 48-minute game, they had 4 more possessions than the average team. And the Dubs broke the record for the best offensive rating in NBA history.
We started off 24-0. That part of it alone was
That's sick.
that was...
I forgot about that part.
Yeah, that part was the craziest thing in the world, just because we had OD confidence, we had chemistry, like you said. Let's just go win every single game.
The Warriors entered the All-Star break in 2015-16 with a 48-4 record, the best start in NBA history, and they finished the season with 73 wins and just 9 losses, which surpassed the NBA record of 72-10 set by the 1996 Bulls. Steph repeated as MVP, also becoming the first unanimous MVP in league history. Curry led the NBA in scoring with 30.1 points per game, in steals with 2.1, and in free throw percentage with 91%. His 402 made threes in the season shattered his previous record of 286, and he became the first player to pass 300 threes and then 400 threes in a season. During the season, Steph tied Kobe Bryant and Daniel Marshall's record with 12 threes in a single game, and he also became just the 7th player in history to shoot 50, 40, 90 for the season. Many consider his 2016 campaign as the greatest shooting season in NBA history. Klay made 276 threes himself, and combined, they made 678 shots behind the arc, which is still the record. The Splash Brothers were also the highest-scoring duo in the NBA with an average of 52.2 points per game. When the playoffs started, Golden State breezed past the Rockets and the Blazers. But in the conference finals against OKC, they found themselves on the brink of elimination with a 3-1 deficit. The Dubs won the game at home, but in Game 6 in OKC, it seemed like it was all over, when the Thunder held an 8-point lead going into the fourth quarter. But then, Game 6 Klay appeared, completely erasing the deficit with an array of improbable threes. Thompson went ballistic, dropping 41 points on 11 for 18 shooting from downtown, and the Warriors escaped with a victory. His 11 threes was an NBA playoff record. In Game 7, the Splash Brothers scored 57 of the Warriors' 96 points, securing another trip to the NBA Finals. The Splash Brothers were the first NBA players to finish with at least 33 pointers in a playoff series, and their 62 combined makes exceeded the Thunder's team total of 55. And against the Cavs in the finals, after 4 games, it seemed like the Dubs had another chip in the bag, with a 3-1 series lead. But then, Draymond got suspended for hitting a player in the family jewels, and in Game 5, the Warriors lost center Andrew Bogut. Without their 2 big men, and thanks to 41 from Kyrie and LeBron, the Cavs won Game 5, and then also Game 6 at home. In the deciding Game 7, the Splash Brothers struggled, scoring 14 and 17 points. But thanks to the best game of Draymond Green's career, who shot lights out and scored 32 points, the Dubs were still in play to win it all. But then LeBron's block, Kyrie's shot, and K-Love's stop on Steph helped the Cavs become the first team in NBA history to overcome a 3-1 deficit in the finals.
You know, playoff run, obviously 7-3-9. Then we get into the playoffs, I get hurt. Miss like 3 weeks of the playoffs, come back. We get to Western Conference Finals, we're down 3-1. Like, people think our season's over with. Come back. Yeah, so we were on both sides of a 3-1 situation. And then in the finals, obviously, I think the wheels just fell off. And Kyrie and LeBron played unbelievably for 3 straight games. Like, I don't think people talk about that part of it as much. It's always like, we all sucked. Like, we got beat. Like, we didn't lose, we got beat.
However, this loss proved to be very beneficial for the Warriors because it allowed them to add Kevin Durant.
I don't know. If we win, we might not get Kevin. So, like, it all worked out, but that one hurt.
If Golden State had won, KD likely wouldn't have wanted to join the team that had just won 2 chips without him. But because they lost, it was clear that the Warriors kinda needed him, just like he needed them.
A lot of people enjoyed seeing y'all lose in 2016. And a lot of those people were upset that we were so good. And they're still upset.
And with KD alongside the Splash Brothers, the 2017 Warriors became arguably the best team of all time. They finished the season with 67 wins, had the best offensive rating ever at the time, the 3rd best net rating ever, and led the NBA in points, blocks, steals, assists, and field goal percentage. Curry and Thompson became the first 2 players in NBA history to make at least 200 3-pointers in 5 consecutive seasons. And early in the season against the Pelicans, Steph broke the NBA record for the most 3-pointers made in a single game, with 13, shooting 13 for 17 from deep.
Even like my 10 years being here, I feel like I've played for 3 different teams. Team that sucked, to the team trying to figure it out, and to the established team that we got now, where we're very confident in who we are, what we all bring to the table. I like this one.
The highlight of Clay's season was on December 5th, when he scored 60 points in 29 minutes, using just 11 dribbles to score his points.
Just one of those days where everything felt great. I mean, 40 in the first half, that's hard to do. But I was getting good looks the whole night. With the gravity that KD and Steph brought to the team, I was getting wide open looks, so.
He became the first player in NBA history to score 60 points in less than 30 minutes of action, and also the first Warrior to score 60 points since Rick Barry did it in 1974. In the playoffs, the Warriors swept all 3 series in the West, with Curry leading the Dubs in scoring in each series. And for the 3rd straight time, Golden State and Cleveland squared off in the finals, in what was arguably the best offensive finals series ever. Golden State convincingly won the first 2 games at home, and just when it looked like the Cavs would win Game 3, KD showed why the Warriors badly needed him.
Durant for 3. It's good! Kevin Durant from downtown, and Golden State takes the lead.
The Cavs managed to avoid getting swept, but with so much offensive firepower and defensive versatility, there was no stopping these Warriors, and the Splash Brothers deservedly celebrated their 2nd championship.
There it is, redemption for Golden State. One of the great playoff runs of all time is complete.
While KD was crowned the Finals MVP, Steph nearly averaged a triple-double in the finals, and Klay contributed with phenomenal defense and 42% shooting for 3. However, in 2018, the Dubs took their foot off the gas in the regular season. Steph and Klay still averaged their usual numbers, extending their record for consecutive seasons with 200 made 3-pointers. But in the playoffs, the Warriors didn't walk over everybody like the previous year, and were on the brink of elimination against the Rockets in the conference finals, trailing 3-2 in the series, and then down double digits at halftime of Game 7. However, thanks to 27 consecutive missed 3-pointers by the Rockets, the Dubs escaped with a victory. In the Warriors-Cavs Finals Volume 4, the only competitive game was the first one, when J.R. Smith spoiled LeBron's 49-point game by forgetting the score in the final seconds.
I look at Bron like pointing like this. Oh, is he pointing at? I look over, oh man. And then after that, it was just like, I know this just happened. Not in the finals.
And after they won Game 1, the Dubs cruised to another title, sweeping the Cavs, with Durant repeating as the Finals MVP. When the 2019 season started, the Warriors continued to tear the competition apart. with a 10-1 start. However, Klay Thompson wasn't playing to his usual standards, and over the first 7 games of the season, Thompson shot 5 for 36 from behind the arc and failed to have a single 20-point game. But then, against Chicago, Klay found his shot and got into one of those zones that most players can only dream of. Thompson made 10 threes in the first half, which tied an NBA record, and in the second half, he added 4 more three-pointers, breaking Curry's record for most threes in a game. Klay scored 52 points in 27 minutes, while making 14 of his 24 threes. And for the 7th consecutive season, the Splash Brothers made at least 200 three-pointers, and each time they did it with over 40% shooting from downtown, which is insane. However, Steph and Klay making threes wasn't news anymore, and the Warriors' 2019 season will mostly be remembered by interpersonal problems, highlighted by the KD and Draymond clash in a game against the Clippers.
Communication is key. We didn't show that, and that's what rubbed me the wrong way more than anything.
But despite everything, Golden State was still the heavy favorite to win the title.
That's the hard part. When you're at the top, it's a daily reminder. You have to come in with the right perspective. One person slips or one rumor, narrative cements itself in your head. Like, we were on spotlight all the time.
And then KD got hurt in the second round of the playoffs. Without their best player, the Warriors' season was in jeopardy. But thankfully, the Splash Brothers were still there. Steph and Klay closed out the series with the Rockets with a combined 60 points in the deciding Game 3. And then in the conference finals, they swept the Blazers, combining for 58 points per game, which was more than half of all the Warriors' points. But in the finals against the Raptors, who had a deep team, the Dubs were suddenly lacking firepower. The Splash Brothers were still a handful, but nobody else on the Warriors could provide much scoring, and the Raptors took a 3-1 series lead.
The first 4 games, the Raptors were dominant and lead 3-1. But all of a sudden, Golden State has a new addition. Kevin Durant will play.
But then, KD miraculously returned, despite still nursing a calf injury, and everything was clicking again. And with KD's presence, the Raptors couldn't guard the Splash Brothers with multiple defenders anymore. Then, early in the second quarter, KD fell to the floor with the worst possible outcome, a torn Achilles. The Warriors still won Game 5, but in Game 6, they also lost Klay, who suffered a knee injury that would later be diagnosed as a torn ACL. Being the hothead and competitor that he is, Klay still tried to get back in the game and continue the best shooting series of his career, because prior to the injury, Thompson averaged 26 points on 54% shooting from the field and an insane 59% for 3. But without 2 of their best 3 players, the Warriors couldn't fend off Kawhi and the Raptors, who won their first NBA championship. And after 5 consecutive finals, a feat that no other franchise accomplished other than the 1960s Celtics, the Warriors had the second worst season in franchise history.
So it's hard to separate yourself and really be okay with, this might not be our year. That's a really hard thing to accept.
Golden State finished with a league-worst 15-50 record in the 2019-2020 season. Thompson missed the entire season rehabilitating his injury, and Curry was limited to 5 games all season after breaking his left hand. And just before the start of the 2021 season, Thompson tore his right Achilles tendon while playing a pickup game and was ruled out for a second straight year.
To get that call was a gut punch for sure. A lot of tears, you don't really know what to say, because a guy like that having to go through 2 pretty serious rehabs now. But at the end of the day, we have to have his back. We hope that he's around and he's part of what we're going to do this year through his rehab and staying connected with us.
Without his backcourt mate, Curry had the best individual season of his career, playing the best defense of his life, on top of leading the NBA in scoring with 32 points per game and hitting a league-high 337 threes.
It was a special year, all things considered, and a new experience for me. Tried to make the most of it, come back, bottle this up, everybody make the right strides, take advantage of the summer, and don't want to see us next year.
At the start of the 2022 season, in Madison Square Garden, Steph made his 2,974th career three-pointer to pass Ray Allen and become the NBA's all-time three-point scoring leader.
The all-time three-point king in the NBA!
Curry also won his first MVP at the All-Star Game after scoring 50 points in the game.
52's the record.
2 points shy of the NBA record set by Anthony Davis. But before the All-Star break, a more important thing happened. Klay Thompson finally returned to action after 2.5 years and 941 days since that Game 6 of the 2019 Finals. And while Klay's explosiveness and lateral movement weren't the same as before, he quickly regained his shooting form, finishing the season with averages of 20.4 points per game and 39% efficiency from deep, which was the first time he ever shot below 40% for three.
We all know I can still shoot. I'm like, yeah. I'm gonna figure out how to, move, get off the dribble stuff. Like, yeah, I'm sure that'll come. The last thing that's gonna come is, meeting people at the rim, getting a couple bodies. I'm like, yeah, don't press yourself. Like, just stay within yourself. Like, it took that man 9 minutes, and he was crossing over, going in the lane. And when he dunked it, like, I lost it. I was on the bench going nuts, going crazy. He got up and he was like, oh, I'm back. Yeah.
However, in the playoffs, the Warriors look like their old selves again, defeating the Nuggets, the Grizzlies, and the Mavericks to advance to another NBA Finals. In each of those 3 series, Steph and Klay led the Warriors in scoring, combining for 46 points per game on average. But in the NBA Finals against the Celtics, things looked bleak for the Warriors, as Boston took a 2-1 lead in the series. Then, in Game 4, Steph played arguably the best game of his career, putting the team on his back and leading the Dubs to victory with 43 points and 10 rebounds.
Step back, three-pointer, bang! Steph Curry drills the
The Celtics never recovered from that loss, as Golden State won the next 2 games and their 4th title in the Splash Brothers era, with Curry unanimously winning the Finals MVP. During the Finals, Thompson joined Curry at the top of the all-time playoff leaders in three-pointers, and as of today, they are the only 2 players with more than 500 made threes in the postseason. They are also occupying the number 1 and number 2 spot in three-pointers made in the NBA Finals, and they share a single postseason record with 98 made threes. Combining the playoffs and the regular season, the Splash Brothers have made 7,347 three-pointers, a record that's likely never going to be broken by a pair of teammates. And even though their last 2 seasons have been disappointing for the Warriors, and especially Klay, who struggled in the 2023 playoffs and the 2024 play-in, the legacy of the Splash Brothers can't be tarnished. Even though Klay signed for the Mavs, whatever happens for the rest of their careers, Steph and Klay will always be linked together as the greatest backcourt in NBA history.
I mean, he's been a great teammate for 8 years, even a better friend. You root for guys like Steph because he doesn't take any shortcuts.
Obviously, Klay, he's just so one of a kind, man.
Yeah.
Low-key,
Cool
can
as a
blend in with
fan.
anybody, knows his role, is competitive as hell.
Hopefully, we can go down as one of the greater backcourts to ever play.
Thanks for watching. And if you like this one, subscribe and keep watching nonstop.